Welcome to CityWorks, where we engage in conversations with the City of Grand Rapids department heads and staff. These are our neighbors, friends, and fellow community members. This series was developed so constituents can get to know our city's many arms and functions at the local government level. I am Mayor Tasha Connelly, and today I'll be speaking with Community Development Director Rob Mattei. We're going to have a conversation about his department, about exciting things happening around the city, things to look forward to in the future, and just general information about the City of Grand Rapids. So welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit about community development?
Sure. So community development really has what I consider three core areas of function for the city. Economic development, so we provide support for the Grand Rapids Economic Development Authority and help them develop goals and carry out their work plan for the year. Planning and zoning, so we provide staff support for the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission is responsible for taking action on zoning requests from the public and also overseeing the process of developing the city's comprehensive plan. Third leg of that is what I kind of categorize as building safety. So the building safety division of the department is responsible for enforcing the Minnesota State Building Code, the fire code on all new construction, and also property maintenance code and rental code for the city. Kind of a sub part of the building safety division of the department is responsible for maintaining all of the city's buildings, so Central School, City Hall, Fire Hall, all the city buildings. So that's in a nutshell what community development is responsible for.
No small tasks, many legs to the stool. How many employees are currently under your?
We have 6 employees, including our administrative assistant that is a shared position with the engineering department.
Okay. And so probably a couple years ago, we kind of aggregated some information about the median home value in the city, and it's around $260,000. And we reduced it down to how much a day constituents are paying for community development service. And it came down to about 26 cents a day for all those arms that you just mentioned, so those services that we provide. So I'm just going to break it down a little bit. Why do you think it's important that the city enforces the state building code?
The state building code and the International Code Council develops the international code for construction, and then the state revises it to make sure that it fits, our environment in Minnesota. Is the minimum standard for construction, and the enforcement of the state building code by the city is required. The city adopted the building code back in 1980. And by statute, that cannot be rescinded. So it's to ensure that buildings are safe for occupation or occupying. They're free of hazards, fire hazards. So that they promote a good environment in terms of ventilation and sanitation and all those things. So this benefits the current homeowner and also a future homeowner who might be buying that, who might not be familiar with what the code required for the house, but can be assured that it was built to that minimum standard.
Standards and safety,
Yeah.
right? Yep. Can you speak to also, we just recently enacted within the last couple years the rental ordinance and code. Can you speak a little bit to why we did that and kind of what that's about?
Yeah, so several years ago now, after the city had implemented a property maintenance code for a few years, we found that the property maintenance code, which was based upon complaints that we received that we would follow up on from tenants, that we found that tenants were hesitant to report issues. Some think from fear of retribution. And so what we looked to do was compare the number of housing units that we have with similar sized communities and looked at what they did in terms of establishing a rental code which requires registration of all rental properties so we know where they are, and also implement a regular program of inspection, so a proactive program of inspection. And it's building safety again is the main point of the rental code. We want to make sure that tenants have a safe and sanitary environment to live in, so through regular inspection and, if necessary, enforcement and of corrections. That's the intent, and that's what the council wanted to move forward with. Yeah. And so we've been operating that for I think it's been about 3 or 4 years now, and that's about the rotation of inspections. It takes about that long to look at all the rental properties in town.
And how many rentals are there?
There's around 2,000 in Grand
Okay.
Rapids, and we saw the trends, and that number was going up.
Yep.
And so that was also part of the reason why, with that number going up, that we felt, the city council felt we needed to take that step.
Yep. And the rental code kind of has, it's like the minimum standards as far as we're talking carbon monoxide, working fire detector, things that, it's not coming in and saying you're not in compliance with something over here. It's just making sure those minimum safety standards are set for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Working plumbing.
Yep.
We don't have people with electrical extension cords running all over the place with space heaters and things like that. So yeah, it is the minimum standard for safety.
So let's talk a little bit about the comprehensive plan, and maybe can you just explain what the comprehensive plan is? I know we've had a couple, at least since I've been on the council, updates, but just what the comprehensive plan is and why it's so important for us to have one, and also kind of what it does, sets us up, how it sets us up for framework for the rest of the future.
So the comprehensive plan is essentially the city's policy for decision making. It sets priorities for where infrastructure will be built or rebuilt. It establishes a plan for the physical development of the city, where areas could be rezoned for future growth. And it really kind of provides a legal foundation for the decisions made by the city council, especially in the area of land use. Zoning decisions can tend to be controversial at times, and if you do not have a comp plan to guide those decisions, there is the potential for legal action against the city with those decisions that they make. So this does provide that foundation for the council and the guide for the council. And all of the departments look at it when they develop their goals for the year, because it touches on everything. It touches on community facilities, parks, economic development priorities, Like I said, land use and zoning. So it applies to kind of the whole broad spectrum of what the city does.
And right now we have a comp plan through 2040, right? The Grow Grand Rapids 2040 comp plan, correct?
Right.
Yep. And so what's kind of unique about it too is it does, when it comes around for review, the public is asked to participate and provide input to kind of set those mission, vision, and values. And it's not just led by us, but a conversation, right, too, as well.
Oh, yeah, it's very interactive.
Yes,
We
yes.
had a lot of responses to surveys. I think over 1,000 people responded to a survey. We did public meetings. We did focus groups. We did all kinds of public engagement opportunities, and we've always been impressed with the participation that we get with those comp plan initiatives, and I think it speaks to the community and their sense of pride and wanting to see things improve.
Yep. And we do have an active and engaged citizenry. So, it does allow for something to, like a conversation, but also to help set potential policies and decisions. It is, like you were saying, it's a conversation and interactive. I'm sorry, was there something else?
Well, I was just going to mention that even though it looks out 20 years, we do update it regularly, about every 7 years, to make sure that it's still relevant and up to date.
Right, and it's available online, so people, if they're curious about our current comprehensive plan, it is on the City of Grand Rapids webpage. Let's talk about economic development, because there is just a plethora of exciting things happening within the city. Do you want to kind of speak to what's happening right now and maybe some future things that are going on that maybe people are noticing?
The Grand Rapids EDA has been extremely busy. I would say last year was probably one of our most productive years. We've had very productive years, but I think last year really stood out. We see the project to construct L&M's distribution center underway. That project to construct a 210,000 square foot distribution facility, a state-of-the-art facility, Greta was heavily involved with. We're involved in acquiring the properties from private landowners, assembling those, working with regional and state economic development organizations, and putting together some assistance for L&M to get that project off the ground. So that was a big one, and that one, we're watching take shape right now. Of course, another big one that we worked on last year and will of course transition into this year is the redevelopment of the former Ainsworth manufacturing site to a cannabis manufacturing and grow facility operated by Highway 35 LLC, Minnesota Corporation. That project involves the build out of 240,000 square feet of that very large empty building on the former Ainsworth property. That project we're set to issue the building permit for in the next week or so. That is a building permit value of about $91 million. Very, very significant project. Their goal is to begin in a portion of that build out growing by the end of the year, and actually completing both phases of it and having the entire facility built out by the end of 2026.
Often we have to have conversations in tandem about the infrastructure that is needed to support the employers that are coming in and just the business itself. And so, we talk about childcare, but also housing. And I know Greta and the city has been very active with housing initiatives. And so can you speak a little bit about, the current projects underway? I know we had a housing study that was completed also a couple of years back, but just where we're at right now with housing needs and development.
The 2022 study that you just mentioned identified a need for 350 to 450 housing units over the 5 years following that study. That study did not account for and didn't anticipate the need that is going to be generated by the Highway 35 project, which is anticipated to add 400 more jobs. So we have been working real diligently on trying to attract housing development projects into the city of Grand Rapids. We have several that are at varying stages of kind of due diligence and site location and funding. We have the Oppidan development project, which would be on 15 acres owned by the Grand Rapids EDA up by the West Elementary School. That is 132 unit proposed market rate development. We also are working on a project on block 20 and 21, which is the Grand Rapids EDA property across from the library in KAXC. That one we're working with a developer called Unique Opportunities, who has built another project in Grand Rapids previously. That would be a 63 unit apartment building with underground parking. That will be primarily market rate, but if there's a request for a housing TIF district on that project, then there will be some affordable units as well. In addition to that, we're working with potential redevelopment of the former wastewater treatment plant on the River Road. We have a local developer that's very interested in creating a manufactured housing community. These would be homes that are assembled on the site, built on a slab. That property and that site has the ability to locate about 79 of those homes, which would be owner-occupied. They'd be part of a community. They would have city infrastructure, but they would rent the site that they're located on. And the last one I wanted to mention was a former Forest Lake Elementary School site. The EDA took ownership of that site once the building was removed by the school district. And that property was subdivided into 22 single-family home sites. And we've been working with the county HRA. They purchased 8 from us last year and have started 8 homes. They received some additional funding from Minnesota Housing Finance, and we'll be building 8 more, so we'll be selling 8 more to them. And we've also sold 2 to Habitat for Humanity, and it's kind of a neat development to watch go up. There's a lot of construction going on. The homes are also modular, so they're mainly being put together on the site. So there's some that are single level, some that are 2 level. Those will be primarily for families that are earning 80% or less of the area median income.
With the project you just mentioned, it will maybe bring us up to where the housing study said we needed to be, not accounting for the other industries that of course were not known at that time of coming in and the need. So do you foresee we need more housing, even with what you just mentioned, in anticipation of future growth?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
As far as we were talking about plans and just, we do, we have studies and we have plans that are done. I know we did recently too updated our downtown master plan. For people who don't know, can you speak a little bit about that plan and kind of what activities and other things that people may see or hear about relative to that central business corridor?
Well, the downtown plan was another one of those very interactive plans. A lot of work with downtown business owners and property owners, lots of focus group sessions and public surveys and those kind of things to get a lot of input on what we'd like to see happen in the downtown in the future. There was work within that plan to try to identify what our sort of economic niche is, what kind of businesses would do well in the downtown, what kind of improvements to the public realm, the sidewalks, the streets, the alleys are necessary to create an atmosphere that's conducive to not only the businesses in the downtown, but all of the activities that are held in the downtown, like Riverfest, like Tall Timber Days. All of those things require also some organizational structure to the downtown. How do we assign responsibilities for different areas of implementing this plan? So that's kind of a phase that we're in currently. We have an advisory group that is made up of about 15 people from the downtown primarily, and we're looking at, okay, how have other communities successfully organized and maintained the momentum needed to really create the environment that you want in a downtown, because we view the downtown as the heart of the community. Large businesses need to have a vibrant downtown to be able to attract new people to come work in the community. All of those things kind of lead us towards, okay, what kind of a structure do we need to ensure that we maintain our efforts here? We last did this plan in 2006, and I was here for that, and the downtown was in a much worse condition. People might tend to forget that the block south of Central School was not very attractive, that there were a lot more empty storefronts, and blight was more of a problem. The block where Rapids Brewing is now was really poor entrance to the downtown on 169. There was just a lot of old-looking buildings, and buildings that were in bad repair. So we've seen a lot of progress. We've had a lot of good things happen, but this plan is going to take us to the next level, I think. And we're seeing, because of that renewed interest, we're seeing more interest in more development in the downtown. Talking with a local investment group that's interested in opening a casual fine dining restaurant in the downtown. Working with another business person on the potential redevelopment of the Plumers building. We're working with Free Range Food Co-op. We've entered into a purchase agreement with them to sell some city-owned property to them for the development of their grocery store. So there's lots of things beginning to happen, which is great to see.
It's very exciting, and again, just a testament to the people who took the surveys, that came to the public meetings, who really showed up. I think I remember the lead saying the highest survey participation she's seen was from our city. And so just what people know what they would like to see in that downtown area, the walkability, the bikeability, the transportation, as you were saying. So that conversation flows like both ways. So it was
sure.
wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. And you really have to have buy-in from a big group of people in order to be successful with a plan. And I think that buy-in is there. So
let's move west a little bit, or maybe just speak to a little bit about kind of what's next, this community development, relative to, maybe blight or areas that we're looking to improve, or just, with our CBIL loans, just some things that also are happening in tandem with all those other things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, the EDA has identified as a priority on this year's work plan to focus attention to the Highway 2 West corridor through town, downtown included, all the way west to 17th Avenue West. Some properties that are empty. We're seeing some properties that are, have blighted conditions. Some of it due to long-standing environmental issues that happened decades and decades ago. We want to see the level of investment in that corridor increased, and the EDA is very interested in taking an active role in that. MnDOT is doing a corridor study, starting a corridor study, and in that area that's focused on transportation. We want to tandem with that consultant that they've hired for that work to do some study of the same area, focusing on zoning, land use, what things we can do, what properties should we focus on. There's a pattern of development that was set into play a very long time ago, before any zoning requirements really were in place in the city, and it makes it a challenge. You've got a lot of property owners, you've got multiple buildings with a lack of parking and things like that. So we're focused on looking at how do we encourage redevelopment of those sites. And in some cases, the EDA may have to step in and control some of that property and take on some of those more difficult issues like remediation of contaminants and redevelopment of the site, because it's a big process for a private investor or business to take on. So if we can take care of some of those tougher parts of the process, we think that we can see some new development and some better development in that area. And we're also looking at sort of the public realm, the environment. I mean, we'd like to see some areas of landscaping on that corridor as well as, improved buildings and business environment.
And why, I mean, maybe it's implied, but why do we care about blight and making sure that, we take care of blighted buildings or do our active efforts in helping, create a space that is welcoming? And I mean, maybe I'm leading into it, but like, why is that so important?
Well, because once blighted conditions begin to take hold, it kind of builds it on itself. You've got a building in bad repair next door to you, you're less likely to improve your building, and that just kind of builds momentum, and property values decrease. The resale of the buildings, the potential for that decreases, and it just is something that can get out of hand. And you want your community to look good. You want people to take care of their properties, and you want that, which is all good for the citizens that live here, and also the tourists and those kind of interests as well. So it's just something that it's a recognized issue across the nation. That's one of those standards that the federal government looks at whenever you're applying for funds from them for projects, is are these blighted properties, and that's a focus for a lot of different programs.
Okay, great, thank you. So we're going to pivot to you for a minute. How long have you been with the city?
I've been with the city for a little over 37 years.
Okay. And what's the best part of your job?
Really, the best part of my job is, that's an easy one, to see tangible results for the things that we've worked on in the department. To see a building redeveloped, to see a new building go up, to see jobs created. All of those things, give me a lot of satisfaction. Great,
thank you. And then one last question here. What is your favorite location or thing to do within the city of Grand Rapids?
That's tougher. I really love spending time in the downtown. And it's easy for us to do because we can walk to the downtown. But I also love some of the parks that we have. We like to spend time in the Legion Park trails behind the high school. We like to, walk across the bridges downtown and through Veterans Memorial Park. And so those are just a couple that come to mind.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for this episode of CityWorks. It's in our nature to be informed, and I hope you learned something new today about our hometown and community. Stay kind, Grand Rapids.